Our case study was on the Quebec Bridge collapse of August 29, 1907.
The initial design was by Peter Slapka, and the Quebec Bridge Company was responsible for the project. However, its chief engineer, Edward E. Hoare, lacked experience working on large bridges. As a result, Theodore Cooper, one of the most respected bridge builders at the time, was hired by the QBC to head the project. The QBC gave the contract to build a bridge to the Phoenix Bridge Company, whose chief engineer was John Sterling Deans. Theodore Cooper was at the top of the chain of the command on the project, and John Sterling Deans and Edward Hoare worked underneath him.
The Quebec Bridge had significant financial limitations, so to increase the viability of the project, Cooper changed the design to speed up the completion time. However, additional testing and research was needed, but the Quebec Bridge Company couldn't afford them, and the Phoenix Bridge did not want to pay if there was no guarantee of profit. It was decided that Cooper's experience and authority was sufficient enough to proceed on. An engineer named Robert Douglas criticized Cooper's plan, and Cooper took offense, and his legal caused him to ignore Douglas's valid argument. Cooper also received another report from an inspector showing that the weight of the seal had far exceeded the estimation. At this point, many sections of the bridge had been completed, and the only alternative to continue would be to restart the project.
And when his health had begun to decline, he placed an inexperienced engineer, Norman McClure, to serve as his eyes and ears on the project.
In early August, McClure began to notice signs of the beams bending and word to Cooper about this. In the week before the collapse, the bending became so extreme that McClure and the foreman stopped the work on the bridge, and McClure traveled to Cooper to discuss the situation. After McClure left, Howard of Quebec Bridge and the foreman decided to resume work. Cooper, after being briefed by McClure, wrote to tell them to stop working on the bridge. John Deans discarded the warning.
On August 29, 1907, the Quebec Bridge collapses.
Obviously, Theodore Cooper had no intention to harm the public, and in the end, he did try to stop the work. Peter came up with the original design, and it seems like the changes to his design were the cause of the problem. John Deans and Edward Howe only wanted to complete the project within the budget and time allotted, but the poor decision-making costed them and their employees immensely. Norman McClure was unqualified for the position he was given, and he did the best job that he could.
Evaluating the decisions. The first decision worth condemning is the decision of Cooper to alter the design. Cooper prioritized cost over public safety, and this is a trade that engineers can never make. The second decision worth condemning is Cooper's decision to ignore the criticism by Robert Douglas. Cooper let his hubris prevent him from seeing flaws in his design. The third decision worth condemning is Cooper's decision to ignore the investigator's report. Cooper had a chance to save dozens of lives at the cost of his reputation, and he chose inaction. The decision worth justifying is Cooper's decision to finally cease work on the bridge. Even though the decision was late and not urgent enough of a command to save the workers' lives, it should be worth something. Code of Ethics breaches. We feel that Section 77.1 was the one that was most violated in this case. We feel that Theodore Cooper chose his reputation over public needs. We feel that John Sterling Deans was unfair to his employees by forcing them to go back to work on the dangerous bridge. And in Section 77.6, we feel that Cooper, by refusing criticism, violated the Code of Ethics.
So, fidelity to public, Theodore Cooper failed to do so. Confidence in performance, both John Sterling Deans and Edward Howard failed to address the problems. Cooperation to other professionals, again, Theodore Cooper failed.
Based on the year this disaster occurred, the precedents we acknowledge as basic may not have been established. So rather than comparing this case to a modern decision, we can look at the decisions made at the time. The Royal Commission of Inquiry placed the brunt of the blame on Theodore Cooper and Peter Slapka because of the bad design which was approved by Cooper. John Deans was accosted for his poor decision-making, and the Quebec Bridge Company was criticized for appointing the inexperienced Edward Hoare.
Always place public safety at the forefront of your professional conscience. Maintain professional behavior and never let ego get the better of you. Cooperate and respect your associates. Welcome professional criticism. Have a high standard of professional conduct, and above all, follow the code. We're excited, and thank you so much.